webinar, and hopefully me and Fran will give you a good overview of our liveaboard trip. So I think we've got a lot of people here, and so I think we're about ready to get started. Are you ready, Fran? Fran looks ready.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll just introduce ourselves and go through what we're talking about, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So hopefully the things that we say will answer some of your questions, but feel free to put some questions in the chat if you think of them, and we'll try and get to as many as possible at the end. So let's start by just introducing ourselves. I know that some people know who we are, but definitely you're talking with me. My name is Claire Hughes. I'm one of the directors down in the Caribbean. I spend my summer down in St. Martin teaching diving mainly, and also interacting with our students and helping manage everything down there. During the year, I work here in Raleigh for Broadreach, talking to people and organising the trips. I've worked for Broadreach for about 10 years, just over 10 years. I started as a dive instructor, leading trips, and have just progressed from there. And obviously, I'm from England originally, and have moved to Raleigh over the years and made it my home. How about you, Fran?
My name's Fran Jackson. I started with Broadreach 6 years ago now. I started out as a scuba diving instructor and fell in love with sailing and got my yacht master certificate. So I worked as a skipper for a couple of years. And then I moved on to helping manage the Caribbean. So I spend all my summers in the Caribbean alongside Claire together. So we manage stuff there, and I now have a role in HQ, currently from England, but hopefully from Raleigh soon. And I help to coordinate the programs and help with the students and everything like that.
Yeah, so we're both quite experienced at being down in St. Martin and being in the Caribbean, and we also like spending time on a boat together. So we're pretty good people to ask any questions about living on boats, I think. So what are we going to talk about today, Fran?
Okay, so tonight we just want to give you a little bit of information about our Liveaboard programs and hopefully answer some of your questions. We're going to start off giving you the basic overview of our trips and a little bit about how they run, and move on to the differences between the boats that we have, so our catamarans and our monohulls. And we're also going to talk about travel to and from the Caribbean, the first 48 hours of program, because we feel they're really important, sleeping and food when you're on program, and some of the other things we do other than diving and sailing. There's lots of other fun activities out there that we do. A little bit about health and safety on board, communication with our students and our parents, our sail training, dive training, and our marine biology. So a little overview about all of our programs there. So
yeah. And do you know where that picture was taken?
That picture was taken in the Grenadines, so one of our advanced diving programs. There's these amazing bays out there where you can just anchor up just our two boats, and it's so secluded and beautiful. So that's from one of our programs.
That's really cool. Very nice. Okay, let's start talking about then life aboard and why we kind of love our liveaboard trips. And really, we love them as a starting point for a lot of our students in Broadreach, because you don't really need any experience. They're designed as introductory programs for people who've never done this sort of thing before, whether that's sailing or diving or marine biology, or even just being away from home. So we encourage people to use this as their jumping off point to start with Broadreach and start with traveling in general. We call it a liveaboard because we live on the boat all the time. We are not really spending a whole lot of time on land apart from activities that we do. So we're making the boat our home, we're sleeping, we're cooking, we're eating on the boat, and obviously we're sailing around. We're anchored or moored every night, so we sleep in some nice secluded bays, but we're not really spending a whole lot of time on land unless we're doing some fun activities. Broadreach really values the small group atmosphere on our trips, and so we keep the group small and we stay with the whole group the whole time, and so you really get to know both your instructors and your fellow students. You'll make that the boat your home and your group your family while you're on a Broadreach trip. We take a maximum of 12 students on the trip itself, and then there'll be 2 or 3 instructors usually who are skippers and dive instructors who will also be in charge of the boats but facilitate all the activities that we do as well. I think Franny is going to tell us a bit about the boats themselves. Is that right,
Yeah.
Fran?
That is right. So our programs run over 2 different types of boat. On this picture here, you can see one of our Catamaran boats. So the main difference is this boat, as you can see, it has 2 hulls. This means it is incredibly stable. So we love to use these boats for our diving programs. The area at the front is perfect for setting up dive equipment and doing dive lessons. And it's just really stable. It has a huge amount of living area. But they're also really fun. I mean, like sailing along, the waves go up through those trampolines and you can get soaked pretty easily. So they're fun to sail to and perfect for learning the basics of sailing. So these boats, we normally have them, they're around 40 to 55 foot, depending on where they're going and what program they're on, that sort of thing. And then we have our monohull boats, so you can see in this picture here. We use these for our intensive sailing programs. Just the monohull itself is the traditional sailing experience, and we love to give that to our students. And you can see in this picture, they're a little bit more closer to the ocean, so it's a little more fun. You can feel the boat heel over and really feel the power of the wind and really learn how to harness it properly on these boats. They're normally around 50, 52, 55 foot, something like that. So there's still plenty of room, but they're really aimed for that sailing experience, which they are perfect for. You can really feel the wind in your hair and like the spray and everything while you're on them. So it's the perfect space for that.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, it does look like fun, doesn't it, when they're in full sail? Okay. Another question we get asked is, where do our trips start from? Where are we going to? And so we start our Caribbean Liveaboard trips mostly in St. Martin, which is an island in the Caribbean. Some people may have been there on vacation. The airport code is SXM. That's the international airport. That's on the Dutch side of the island. St. Martin is split weirdly between the Dutch and the French. The airport's on the Dutch side. We have our base in a marina in Ans-Marcel, and this is a picture of Ans-Marcel from the air. It's a kind of sleepy little, I wouldn't say village, it's just a little sleepy bay. It has a couple of hotels and a marina as well. You can see that marina over to the left there with all the boats in. And it has this beautiful beach as well that we get to visit. And this is where our students will arrive. They'll fly into that international airport, like I said. Getting from St. Martin, from the US to St. Martin is fairly easy. There's direct flights from Miami and New York, Atlanta and Charlotte. And we meet the students in St. Martin. So the flights aren't accompanied necessarily. They tend to travel independently, and we'll meet them at the airport in St. Martin. One exception to that is we do have an accompanied flight from Miami for some of our middle school students. And so if you're interested in finding out a bit more about that, you can always ask us about flights for them. The St. Martin airport itself is pretty small. It only has a handful of gates and there's only one exit point. And so it's pretty easy to navigate for our students, and obviously our staff are right outside the baggage claim waiting to greet our students. We also give them a t-shirt to travel in, and I know I've collected a few t-shirts over the years from Broadreach. I'm sure you have too, Franny. So we can see everyone. And yeah, everyone can see each other and kind of say hi. And then we're going to take a taxi. It's about a 20-25 minute ride from the airport to our base here, and this is also where we'll spend our first night. So in that lovely turquoise water where the boats are anchored there, that's where we'll literally spend our first evening on program. Arrival day, we will go to our base in St. Martin. We affectionately call this the pad, and it's where we have all of our equipment. A lot of our office and logistical staff are there as well. And I think, Franny, you were going to tell us a bit more about what happens when you arrive.
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, the students will get met at the airport, and then we taxi them over to our base. Once they arrive at our base, we make sure that every student calls home It's really important for us to make sure that their parents, their families know that they have made it to their destination and they are safe and sound with us. From there, we then get them all fitted out with their dive gear. So they'll get wetsuits or snorkeling equipment or specialist sailing equipment if they need it. We also make sure that they have a good meal in their bellies before they head out to their boats. So we feed them all there. And it's just like a little short moment just for the students to start to get to know each other, but also to meet their instructors for the first time and also meet some of the logistical staff that are around and that are there to help them. There is everything you could possibly need at the pad. So if a student has ever forgotten anything, you can be sure that we have it somewhere, and normally multiple items. So everything there that we need, there's all the food for our boats, dinghies, dive equipment, everything we could possibly need is there. So it's a really busy, bustling place on arrival days. From there, our students then get dinghied out to their boats and they spend their first night out in the bay on their boats.
In the place that we showed you before. And then from there, the first 48 hours we feel are really important for our trip. It's a special time. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of information coming in, a lot of things for people to learn. And so it helps if students come ready to take all that in and really ready to get stuck into all the activities we're doing. We use this time to also set expectations for the trip, so that for first 48 hours we spend time talking about what we want out of the trip, our goals and our expectations for students. And so we ask, I know we have like a participant agreement that we ask people to read and sign before they come, and this is just an extension of that, making sure that we have everyone's input and everyone's on board, so to speak, for a great adventure. And so I think this sort of thing that this photo shows, this kind of everyone pitching in and making an agreement about the kind of trip that they want to have, and starting having that family atmosphere that we want to create on our trip. We're also going to start straight away with the diving and sailing. So that first morning, they are going to raise the sails and sail a bit, and then also work on dive certifications right from the start, get set up with dive gear and things, go snorkeling and maybe even do some water sports on the first day. So it's the first 48 hours is very important. It's busy, but we think it just sets the scene for the rest of the trip. We love it. Don't you think, Franny?
I love it. That first morning, swim to the beach and yeah, it's just a great morning.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions we get asked. I think I get asked this one a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So we often think with our Broadreach trips, especially these sailing and diving programs, it's really more of like camping than staying in a hotel. So although the boats do, especially our catamarans, they have like 4 to 6 cabins, which are more than available for our students to sleep in. We tend to sleep wherever they feel comfortable. So out on the deck, the trampolines, on the sofa areas. There's so many areas. And to be honest, my favorite is the trampoline. I love to lay there and you can watch some shooting. Hopefully you can see some shooting stars. So I like lay there for hours rather than sleeping, trying to spot them. And there's a lovely Caribbean breeze. So really we use like sleeping can be anywhere. Like on this picture, you can have a hammock, and the skippers have got so many ideas as to where you can hang that hammock. I've spent many a night in one and it's just so peaceful on board. So it's really more of like a camping experience.
Yeah, with regards to sleeping, definitely. Yeah. I think the rocking of the boat a little bit with the waves on the hull is quite magical. It's definitely an experience.
Yeah, it's lovely. And like waking up to the sunrise is not something I'm normally very keen on, but there, like you can just watch it come up over the islands, and it's such an experience to have.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I think for me also sleeping under the stars is really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Another question I get asked a lot about is food and what we eat and things like that. And obviously we love food. We spend a lot of time thinking about it, and we spend a lot of time making it on program too. We make most of our meals. We do have meals out occasionally, but most of our meals in the Caribbean are made by us, made by the students, and everyone pitches in to help. So we usually have cook teams that take on the role every day. and that all changes, and there's a whole schedule of it, and everyone pitches in and makes food for each other. It's a really nice thing to do. We have a galley guide, and we have menu plans and things like that, so it's not it's fairly approachable for our students, and we're going to try and mix in crowd pleasers and popular meals with our fresh vegetables, and making sure we're keeping healthy and fueling our busy days with lots of good food, as well as finding something for almost everybody to eat. We definitely want people to eat, and we'll work with people to find things that they like as we go on the trip. It also means that we're quite flexible in what we can do with our food, and so if you do have any dietary accommodations that need to be made or anything special, we can usually find a way to incorporate that into our menu plans as well. So we find that it's a good place for people that have those accommodations that need to be made. I know a lot of people are vegetarian. I think a quarter of our staff were vegetarian the last couple of years, so we definitely have those things catered for sure. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of food on board when we set off, and obviously as we go around the different islands, we'll provision as we go with fresh food and fruits. I think the fruit market, if you end up in Nevis, is quite a highlight for a lot of the students. And then of course we like cake as well, so cake is very important on a boat for morale and safety. Just because everyone loves cake. Meal times are definitely something that we make a bit more special. Dinner time in particular, we're going to make sure that everyone comes together and have that routine of having a dinner together. It's a time that we do some special things that we only do on Broadreach, some activities. We reflect on the day, and we really make it a special time, make sure everybody is involved with the meal and those kind of conversations and all of that stuff. I really like that aspect. It's a really nice calm time of day, I feel like, when we're having dinner on a boat, and there's certainly some magical meals that I've had and some interesting meals too. I'm sure Franny has too. Experimental cooking. Yeah, definitely. We get creative in the kitchen for sure. But it's not all about food. Moving on. It's not all about food. We also do a bunch of other stuff as well, don't we, Fran?
We do. Like I said, it's not all food, sleeping and sailing and diving. We do a lot of shore excursions where possible. These mostly take the form of hikes. So for instance, in St. Bart's, we do a hike over to a body surfing beach, which is a beautiful place. I mean, I love watching the students sometimes get a little barrel rolled, but mostly have fun like surfing in the waves and just having a little time to release some of that energy and feel the space of not being on the boat is really important to us. But on, there's lots of other excursions. St. Kitts, we do a fabulous hike, and we hike a volcano in Statia. So it really just depends which program you're on, what we do. But you can see from the pictures here, water sports are a huge part of our programs as well. We have dedicated water sports boats and dedicated water sports team, which takes students out to teach them how to wakeboard, kneeboard, water ski, any of those things. So we have a lot of fun, not just the sailing and the diving. There's also a lot of spontaneous fun on board, quick jumping competitions, or I've done some paddleboard races around the boat. So there's lots happening all the time. It's definitely a busy place, filled with activities. What's your favorite thing, Claire? You've done spontaneous fun.
Spontaneous fun. I think I once had a skipper who convinced all of my students and me that mango skin was really good if you brush it on your face, and so we all ended up with mango all over our face. But it was funny, and we had a good time. I do have a question actually that's come in about fish. Is fishing ever available to cook? Do we ever catch it, and do we ever cook it on board? Have you ever done that, Fran?
I have tried, but unfortunately, I'm not a very successful fishing person. I've tried often on sails. It can be the boat speed has to be particularly right, and we have to have all the right equipment. So we can try it, and our skippers are always game to give it a go. But often we don't end up with much, but you
I
can always try.
I wouldn't rely on it for my dinner, but I've definitely managed to cook and eat something that we've caught.
Yeah.
We'd have a backup plan for sure. When we're anchored, we're very often in marine parks, so we do have to watch that. But yeah, if someone's a good fisherman, we can definitely make that happen.
Yeah. Fish tacos is very tasty.
Yeah, true that. And did you talk about water sports as well? We do some
I did.
lovely water sports. Yeah, just saw that picture. Okay. I just wanted to touch on health and safety. I know this is a thing that I get asked about, especially about parents. We definitely have a good record on health and safety. We're very proud of. We have a very specific approach to health and safety that I think there's some really good blog posts written about, and certainly people can talk a lot about that in detail. But basically, we have quite a collaborative approach. We like to get our students involved in risk management and taking care of themselves. And that starts right at the start of the trip and continues as we take care of each other on the boat. We've all got responsibilities on the boat, whether that's kind of taking care of sailing and raising the sails, or making sure we're wearing our PFDs while we're on sails, making sure we're keeping each other healthy, checking on making sure we're putting sunscreen on and hydrating, that sort of thing. And then that goes up to perhaps more global things where our staff are experienced and have training in kind of a more advanced first aid. We have on every boat a wilderness first responder who's a little bit more advanced with first aid, and all of our staff go through quite an intensive 8-day training on the boats themselves, so that they know everything before they take students on. We also have support boats that follow the fleet, although we have a couple of different fleets going around on different length trips. We'll also have a boat that has various staff on it, like myself and Franny, and some of our logistics staff who really support the fleet with whatever they need. And that gives a lot of reassurance to our students and to our families as well, that we're there to provide equipment, supplies, and even extra staff if necessary. So that can be anything from an extra onion for dinner to tanks for a night dive, or perhaps more support should anything go awry. We're in constant contact with our instructors. We have the radios of the boats and cell phones as well, and then obviously we have the office in Raleigh who are always around for extra support in the US. Another thing that we're always doing is we have the emergency action plans, of course, for every island that we go to, so we always know where our resources are. We have a lot of local partners who we rely on in times when we need some help, and we also have plans in place for different eventualities with regards to weather and kind of emergency action plans. So it's something we think about a lot, and we really value that collaborative approach with our students to make sure that everyone's invested in health and safety for sure. I was also going to talk a bit about communication, I think, for our students. So a lot of questions we get are about kind of our policy on cell phone uses and communication with home. And one of the things that is quite magical about a Broadreach trip and a trip like this, we think, is that the time to kind of switch off and just be in the moment, I think, is what we phrase it as. Kind of be with your group, get to know the people, enjoy the experience of being in a beautiful place on a beautiful boat, and really immersing yourself in the experience. And so we, although we would encourage students to have phones for travel days, and also for music and cameras, we use our phones for so many things, we hang on to the SIM cards usually, so that their phone is, they have less access to the internet, and also you're not able to text or anything like that. There's no Wi-Fi on the yachts, so it makes a nice break from the internet and all that life. And I think especially after the last year with lots of Zooms and lots of internet. I think it's going to be a nice break for everybody during the summer as well. We're not completely cut off though. We do call home at least once a week, usually on a Sunday, but you can also send messages through the office if you have some sort of urgent message that needs to get through. And the main thing is we are keeping people updated with our trip updates and photos. So one of the jobs of our logistics team and people like us is to make sure that those blog posts that students write every day get uploaded to the internet so that people can follow along back home. So the folks back home can read about what their students have done and even see some pictures. And that's usually a great thing for especially parents to kind of live vicariously through their students. So we always have fun coming up with creative ways to write trip updates and keep everyone informed about what's happening back home. I know my students have anyway. Oh, Franny, you're a good person to tell us about sail training, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So we have sailing intensive programs. Although we teach sailing on every single one of our programs, we have programs dedicated to sailing because it's a huge part of what we love and what we do. So we have 3 programs available. One is an advanced program. So this is our advanced sailing voyage. This program starts in St. Martin and it doesn't return to St. Martin. It is a one-way trip, which is really exciting. On this program, we teach you get 3 sailing qualifications, all the way up to Broadreach flotilla skipper, which is a really intense program, I guess, where by the end of the program, the students should be completely in charge of that boat and be able to sail a boat by themselves. So that is the aim of that one. We then have 2 other, which are our intro programs. We have that available for middle school and high school students, and that's a 12-day voyage. There's no experience needed. It's just get on, have a go, and learn how to sail. That's our sail training.
Yeah. We're also doing a lot of diving. We're a PADI organization. Our instructors are PADI certified instructors, and we'll go all the way, obviously, from open water, which is your very first PADI certification, all the way up to master diver for some of our students. So open water to advanced to rescue, and then master diver. And there's some specialties along the way that we take part in as well. Older students even can go all the way up to dive master and instructor for the over 18s. So yeah, there's a lot of diving, a lot to choose from if you're already certified. There's things that you can do as well with advanced trips. So there's something, I think, for everyone, and it's definitely a good place to start, but also to continue your diving education with Broadreach. And then I think the last kind of bucket that we take care of, it's in the Caribbean, is marine biology. We do have trips that are kind of dedicated to marine biology. The students are going to learn to dive, and they're also living and sailing on a boat, so they'll learn sailing, but they really dig deep into the marine biology. They'll have a marine biologist there with them, living with them, who's going to give them some more formal lessons about marine biology. And I think for the high schoolers, there's even some college credits available as well on those trips. So those are kind of the 3 subject areas that we're going into. Yeah. So specifically, the things we have available are 12-day scuba and sailing and 21-day scuba and sailing trips for both high schoolers and middle schoolers. They're called slightly different things depending on your level. And then the advanced certification, advanced trips in the Caribbean, but also down to the Grenadines for those that are already certified. Marine biology options, like I said, these are diving, sailing and marine biology. For our high schoolers, that marine biology voyage is 17 days long, and then we do an intro course for our students who are a bit younger and in middle school. And then lastly, we have more sailing focused programs, and they're the ones that go ahead on the monohulls, like Franny said before. And we'll do 12 and 21 days for high schoolers, The advanced sailing voyage really is for people who have had experience before. Sailing exploration is for people who would like to get into sailing. And then for our middle schoolers, we're going to do that intro to sailing that's 12 days long and really give them a good first experience on boats as well. Yeah. Yeah, have you got anything to add there, Franny?
I don't think so.
Do you have a favorite trip that you've had?
Oh, I don't know. I have favorite places and favorite dive sites, but I don't think a favorite trip. But yeah, do you?
No, I do like Sabre. Anywhere that goes to Sabre, and obviously I'm a dive instructor first and foremost. So, yeah, any diving in Sabre is great. Some of those walls and pinnacles are just amazing.
I know, they're some of the best sites I think I've ever dived. It's like swimming in an aquarium some days.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
So I think that was all we had kind of wanted to share with everybody. I've got a great last shot of jumping off a boat at sunset. I think that really encapsulates a Broadreach trip for me. It's one of the best times of the day, kind of just before dinner when everyone jumps off the boat for maybe a shower or something. I do notice we've got a few questions in the chat, and so feel free, if you've thought of anything that you would like answered, to put those questions in the chat, and we'll try and get to some of those now. So Franny, are there any that have caught your eye? Any particular ones?
Yeah, I think this is a good one that we get asked often. Do you have students that get seasick?
Yes, that is a good question. And the answer is yes. And some of those people include me, because I do suffer from seasickness from time to time, despite having been on boats for 10 years. And yeah, we do. We're on the ocean. And so seasickness can be something that people experience. It's usually very short-lived, though. What I've found is that the first 24 hours are kind of the key time for people finding their sea legs. That's definitely a thing. Finding your sea legs and getting used to the movement of the boat and getting over your seasickness. Our boats, when they're anchored or moored, when we're diving, when we're sleeping, anytime we're not moving, are in very calm bays. And so really the only time you're kind of moving at any clip is when you're sailing itself, and usually that seasickness will work itself out in the first day or so. So it's something to be aware of, but it's not usually a problem, and I've not really had it spoil a trip that I've done, and I can't think of anyone who's had to. Yeah, it's just not something that's a huge concern after the first little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another one we have, is there a balance between male and female campers?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. We try and keep a balance. It's definitely co-ed, so we take males and females, so girls and guys, on the trips, and we try and balance out the genders. Because that's more fun for everyone, I think. And there's usually a fairly even split. Sometimes there's a slight imbalance, but that works out quite well sometimes for cabin space and things like that. But yeah, there'll definitely be a balance, and we'll try and keep that to an even split as much as possible. I know we do a little bit of marine biology, attracts a few more girls than guys usually. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, it's more fun for everyone, I think, when there's both guys and girls on a trip. Having said that, I don't think it really affects the trip a whole lot, even if there's a few more of one or the other. In my experience anyway, I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah, I don't think it matters much. I think I saw a question in here, someone was asking about sleeping arrangements. I think a thing to note, I was going to add on, which I think goes well with that answer you just gave, is that we normally split our boats by gender, like per sleeping arrangements and cabins. So say on the catamarans, we'll split one side of the boat will be for girls and one side of the boat will be for boys. So they will have their own areas to store all their things and sleep if they need to. And they will also have their own bathrooms. So bathrooms for girls and bathroom for boys. So I think that answers a couple of the questions in there about splitting up sleeping and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's true. And there is one question here I see that says, do students stay and sleep in the middle of the ocean? What do you think, Franny?
We're not, I wouldn't say we're really in the middle of the ocean. We're in such calm, like, anchorages and bays every night, that it's not really, for me, it doesn't feel like the middle of the ocean. So you can always see land, and normally we're in like a very close distance to a bay or a beach or like a shoreline. And yeah, the students do sleep outside all night, and most of them love it. Like, most of the instructors love it too. Sometimes you get a little spot of rain, which can cause a quick walk for cover to underneath, but there are plenty of spots that are also covered and still outside and open.
Yeah, I think it is important to know that, we're not really out of sight of land when we're sailing, even when the good thing about the Leeward Islands and even the Windward Islands is they are relatively close to each other, and so it's not like being in the middle of the Atlantic or anything. We're kind of always within the sight of land, even when we're sailing, and certainly when we're sleeping, it's kind of in these calmer areas, anchored and moored, that are good for that kind of thing. There is one here actually about if your child already has an SSI certification, do they have to start at the beginning for diving? Can you answer that one?
No, the SSI certifications can be brought over to PADI. So if you've already started with SSI, it's directly relatable to continuing with a PADI certification. It might just be that they might do like a quick sit down with the instructor to make sure they're all up to date with all their knowledge and their skills, but we would do that with any student that is already certified. So SSI is fine. You can come on and do a PADI course.
Yeah, and the same with NAUI and things. The good thing about all those organizations, I think they've worked together to be similar in their initial courses, and so they cross over really well. But it's a great question. Yeah. Is there any more questions there, Franny?
Yeah, I think this one's come up a little bit. How do you handle storms at sea? Or there's another one with stormy weather, things like that. And boats slipping over.
Boats. I've never heard of a boat capsize. The thing about catamarans is they're very like stable, like we said, so that would be very unusual, especially in the Caribbean. But we do get some weather that comes through occasionally. Usually it's in the form of sort of tropical storms that are very short-lived. The great thing about sailing and diving is you can do it in the rain, so we still dive in the rain. But rougher weather and stuff that's a bit more concerning is something that we plan for constantly. So we're constantly monitoring the weather. We have a good system for that. We know when things are coming through, and we do have a good network of safe anchorages should we need to bring the boats back in for a period of rough weather. And that's an occasional thing that happens. We'll have to bring boats back into the marina. Marcel itself is very sheltered, and I know there's some places in St. Kitts that are really good safe harbours for that sort of thing. I've had to do it a handful of times over the number of years I've worked for Broadreach, and it's always been for about 24 hours, so it hasn't really impacted the trip much, which has been good. But yeah, we're always keeping an eye on it, we're always monitoring, and we're always planning ahead for what might be coming through. It's a great question.
It's a great question. Slightly different tact. Is there a background check for counsellors and skippers?
Yes, there is. It's definitely the hiring process is quite intricate and goes on for a while. We're hiring all year really for our staff members. They do go through background checks. It's something we can go into a bit more if we have a phone call with people, but yeah, they're definitely checked, have criminal background checks. They're also experienced. We make sure that they have experience working with teenagers, working in teaching, and obviously they're also qualified in their particular fields of expertise, be diving or sailing, marine biology and things like that. So yeah, we want to make sure we have the best people that we can get, and that we really get to know them as we are training them and put them through their paces. Good.
If you are not the strongest swimmer, would you still be okay?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, you definitely have to be able to swim for this. But no, you don't need to be the strongest swimmer to do both diving. I always say diving is kind of a lazy person's sport, and the idea isn't to do as little as possible, really. But if you're not a strong swimmer, no, you can still dive. And we also, as part of our health and safety things, we're making we have all our students wear PFDs, personal flotation devices, so not life jackets, but similar, that are comfortable to wear for sailing. So a lot of the time when a boat is moving or we're in motion or we're on the way to a dive site, they're wearing things like PFDs or have flotation. And so being able to swim is required, but you don't have to be a really good swimmer. No, the water is generally calm, and yeah, you're usually on a boat or with dive gear on. So being a great swimmer isn't necessary.
Another question, I think this one is quite a quick answer. Do you have to pay extra for college credit? So no, college credit is included in our programs. Our programs are all inclusive, other than the flights. So that's all included.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, actually, Franny. Yeah, college credit and also the equipment that you need, like the scuba equipment. We're going to you're going to borrow it from us, but yeah, that is included in the tuition cost too. And like Franny said, the things that you'll pay extra for is the flights and of course insurance, trip insurance for yourself. So we've tried to incorporate as much as possible in the program design, and that includes that kind of thing. Yeah. Are there any more questions that you can see? It's terrible. Yeah. There's a lot.
There's a few.
There's a few.
I think one that has come up twice in a similar way is there a certain number of luggage or bags students can bring, and what would you say is essential?
Oh yeah. Well, we have a packing list, so everyone who's enrolled will get a packing list that details, it breaks down what you should kind of bring. And we sort of say a good sized duffel bag should be big enough for all your stuff that you need to bring. You don't need a whole lot of stuff on these trips. Definitely a good tip is those soft-sided duffel bags instead of cases with wheels. On a boat, the ability to kind of squish a bag into a locker or into a corner is really useful, I think. Don't you think, Franny?
I do.
Yeah.
Just so they can get out of the way easily and don't take up a lot of space.
Yeah, and so the sort of hard cases with wheels are not ideal, and so looking at like a duffel bag and maybe a carry-on as well is kind of what we recommend. Yeah, packing light for these trips is definitely something that you should aim on doing. The less stuff, the better.
Yeah, this is one. Can you talk about the difference between 12 and 21-day trips?
12 and 21-day trips. Yeah. Yeah, on 12 and 21, there's a few differences. They are designed to be kind of similar. They do visit some of the same places. 21-day trips go to different islands. They go to a few more islands than the 12-day trips, so they get a chance to take in a bit more of the Caribbean. You're usually doing more certifications on a 21-day trip. So you'll go onto your advanced diving certification and do some more specialties, or you might do a slightly more advanced sailing trip as well, and obviously everything that goes with that, sort of hiking, a few more hikes, seeing more islands, doing a bit more water sports, all of that stuff. And then I think as well, for some people, for those who are coming on a 12-day trip and it's their first time away, it's nice to know that they have 12 days to do that and to see how they like it and things like that. But for 21-day trips, very often people find that after 12 days they wish they were staying, and so they wish they were staying for 21 days. So you're just getting into it and really making friends and things. So those 21 days really are for making the real lifelong friendships and kind of getting that real magical experience. It's making me like get excited for summer just thinking about it.
I know, I want to be there.
I can see about a question about showers. What about showers? And I think that's been asked a couple of times. How do showers work on a boat?
So on a boat, we don't have unlimited supply of water. So we do have to be a little bit careful. And especially showers is one of those areas. So often we take what we call a boat shower, which involves the ocean, a lot of shampooing on the boat and jumping into the ocean and finishing off with like a long freshwater rinse. It is very refreshing and pretty good. But we do also have showers on board within the bathrooms themselves, and those are available for our students to use. And we also have water makers on board, so we are able to make our own water to help that happen, really. So it depends what you're into. If you want to jump in the ocean and there's a lot of shower parties happen. There's music playing and there's shampoo everywhere. But there are also private showers available.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking about some of the shower times of combined with swimming and things like that. You don't get super dirty on a boat. It's strange. You don't feel that dirty really on a boat ever. So just a freshwater rinse is sometimes all that's needed at the end of the day. It's quite nice. Yeah. I think I've seen any laundry.
We do offer laundry if possible. Normally on our 12-day programs, we find that our students don't really need to, but we do have fresh water available to give things a rinse through if we need to. On our longer programs, our 21-day programs, so when we dock the boat in certain islands, we fill up big tubs and we have like detergent and like soaps on board, so our students can give things a rinse through if they want. It's really just to get that salty feel of things. It can be nice just to give things a rinse, and then things dry in the Caribbean sun very quickly. So it's quite an easy process. So it's available.
It's true. It is all hand laundry though, so we don't have laundry machines. And I found that teenagers, especially when they find out they have to hand wash things, they
turns out there's only very few things that need doing.
There's just the essentials. Yeah, but usually, our packing lists are great, and you usually will have as much stuff as you need. It's been refined over the years, but yeah, hand laundry is definitely available. For sure. Oh, was there anything else? Any last questions that people wanted to ask? There's so many questions. This is really nice to have everyone here.
Yeah. Can kids bring their own snacks and food from a natural kit? Yes. You can bring your own snacks if you need to. And we do say that people, if they have a particular diet or dietary requirements, that sometimes it's best if you do bring a few of your own snacks just to supplement your meals. But we do have so many snacks on board: Pringles, goldfish, healthy snacks, fruit, raisins, peanut butter. There is so many things on board. So there is never a shortage of food on board. But if there are some things that you really want and you need to get through your day, you can absolutely bring those with you.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. Well, I think there are a few other questions, but I think definitely we should let people get on with the rest of the day. I think we've talked for quite a while, and I hope this has been useful for people. And I'm always available for a chat on the phone, or even by Zoom. We can do now, or me or any of the other people at HQ would be happy to chat about the summer. It does get us really excited for summer, and so we do like to chat with people and just share our experiences. But hopefully this has been useful to everyone who's tuned in. I think we've recorded it too, hopefully, so that a recording should be available for anyone that's missed it or anyone wants to go back and just see. And yeah, just ask us questions. We're always happy to get on the phone or have a Zoom with people. Yeah, was there anything you wanted to add, Fran?
No, I don't think so. It was great to talk about our summer programs, and it's definitely got me really excited for the summer, and I can't wait to be there. And it's great to see so many of you here with so many questions. But like Claire said, please reach out with any questions, make a Zoom or a call. Everyone's always happy to talk about the summer and diving and sailing. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, it was nice to see everyone. Thanks for letting us know where you were coming from, where you were tuning in from. Yeah, and we'll start wrapping up, I think, and have a good evening. It was great to speak with you guys.